All right, so welcome back. We're going to part two. Going to install the roller guides. I think I have everything laid out that I need. The roller guide kit. If you didn't watch part one, please watch part one. Let me just make sure you're not looking down too much. No, it's all right. So if you didn't watch part one, please watch part one because it explains a lot of this stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to go pretty much by the book on this thing, which I don't have. I'm making the book up as I go along. The only thing that I think I know is that we need to install these rollers on here before we put them on the machine. And the reason for that is that there are grub screws, set screws that hold these stainless set screws that hold these in on the side. And you don't want to be tightening these down on that set screw. It's going to mar the shaft, and it's just not a good idea. So what I believe Norwood wants you to install these on here prior to putting them on the machine. Now what you have and what comes in the kit is a locking nut, a washer, which I've watched 9,000 videos to try to figure out whether it goes on the front or the back, and I believe from what I've seen in Norwood's videos, it goes on the front, which kind of makes sense. We have these little Made in Canada stickers on here. We're going to take off so it's not bumping around the band. And we are going to, these, like I said in the previous video, do have a hole in them. They are pre-drilled with a hole for a grease zerk, but they are not cross-drilled for the grease to squirt out. So you can do that. And let me get you a close-up here. What you would need to do that, and I am probably going to do that, is if you can see inside, if I can get a good view, all right, there you go. You can see where the space is in between the bearings. So you would need to take a measurement on the width of this 6202, I think it is. No, 6203 bearing. ABEC 3 6203 to RC3. So the ABEC 3 bearings, you could get these anywhere. But these 6203s, you could take a measurement of the width of it, and then that's the distance that you want to go from this shoulder over and drill a hole. And it can be off a little bit based on the size of the hole that you drill, so that when you put these on, you can install a grease zerk here, and it will squeeze grease up in between the bearings on the shaft to the inside. The only caveat that I will say to that is that these are shielded. So if you see that they are shielded, they have a plastic shield on the bearing. I don't know right now if they have shields on the inside, which is in between the two bearings. If they do, these engineers are, I don't know, maybe they care more about going to lunch or something stupid like that. If they have shields on the inside, they've ruined this setup for grease. It would almost be better for you at this point to take these 6203s out, take the shields off the inside, put them back in, cross drill this just to that inside so that you could grease these bearings. And without you knowing whether the shield's in there, if you cross drill it and there are shields in there, you're not doing anything. The grease isn't going inside the bearing, which is just mind-numbingly stupid. The fact that they would be drilled for a grease zerk and then have shields on the inside would be mind-numbingly stupid. Now, I don't know that they are, because I'm not going to take these out right now. But because we want to run them and see how they run. So we're going to run them first. There is another problem with these rollers. They are not hardened. I have run a file across them, and a file does cut them, which means they're not hardened, which means they're not going to last super long. So there is a possibility that you could always go and source these from Cook's or from Wood-Mizer in the same dimension with the same shaft size and install the grease zerk. I know the Cooks are made to be greased, so install the grease zerk, cross drill it, and then have it greasable, which would be a better setup. And also, I know that the Cooks ones, and I'm not shitting on Norwood here because they get these out to me in 2 days, but I know that the Cooks ones are hardened. Now, I could harden these myself, but for me, it would just be easier just to buy a higher quality one. We're going to see. We're going to see how long they last, and you guys will get to see it with me. So we're going to put these together. We need to put this on here. You could, in theory, just go ahead and grab this with a pair of channel locks or vice grips and tighten this thing down with, where'd my wrench go? With a, pretty much anything, adjustable, whatever. I'm going to just do it with a socket. This lock nut is a 1-inch. What I am going to do beforehand is I am going to throw some grease on this shaft and inside those bearings just a little bit. Now, granted, grease, and this is a little bit counterproductive from a point. On machine tools that produce sawdust, grease is a bad idea because sawdust sticks to grease. You have to make a decision what that drawdown looks like or what that drawback looks like. Now, we know that they want us to grease the band wheels. They come with grease zerks on them. These should be drilled and have a grease zerk in them. They should. And those bearings should not be shielded on the inside. But sawdust is going to stick to this stuff. So from one standpoint, it's not the greatest idea in the world to put grease on these things. But what option do you have? And don't say, well, you can use, spray dry lithium lube. No, that's not going to stand up to high heat, high rotation like these. The only thing that's going to stand up to high heat, high rotation on something like this is regular grease. So you don't have the option of just spraying some dry lithium in there like on a table saw and Bob's your uncle. It doesn't work that way. So we are going to grease it before we put it together. I am going to turn my washers to rounded side out. We are going to put a nut on here, and we are going to lock it in my chainsaw sharpening vise and tighten this thing down until it's tight. And then after we get these two done, we will go to, we're going to go to installing these. Now, installing these only literally, because there is no adjustment in them, installing these literally takes 5 minutes. Just to let you know. To change one of these out, I don't want to mar up the shaft. So we want to get it tight enough to not mar the shaft. Keep it from spinning. Tighten this lock nut down nice and even so that we don't spin the shaft and mar it up like you would if you were holding it with a pair of channel locks or vice grips. Okay, that's tight. Still got good spin. That's good. It's not. You don't need to gronk down on it. This one's done. But I believe that they did gall that shaft just a teeny little bit, the one little bit of slip right there. I believe these should be greasable. So that is a discussion for another time. But I can tell you also that with sawdust being produced, sawdust is going to stick to grease and stay in there. And that is another issue altogether. But these things don't last forever. These are made to be replaceable. I could, when they do wear, they'll tend to wear to taper. I could put them on my lathe and turn them down. The problem is that, well, you're going to find out in a few minutes, there is a flaw in this system in that these are not adjustable like Cook's and Wood-Mizer. So if you turn these down, you're going to lose down pressure. We're going to see how much down pressure they come with. I'm not sure, but I do know that if you watch Plank Sawmills, Plank's, the kid that runs that channel, did install these. He says it's the greatest thing he ever did for his mill. And they came out perfectly level when he put them in, and he's happy with them. So whether there is adjustment in them or not, I can't change that fact. And he does some fairly high production sawmilling. So I'm going to go with his recommendation that these are worth the install. So we have them now put together. What we got to go to do, we got to take the mill apart and keep our grease ready. I'm going to pause you guys and I'm going to get you set up over there. We'll take the mill apart and we'll put these things in. All right, so I will try to do my best to keep your view as good as I can possibly keep it. I do have a clamp behind my mill, so I can't push it backwards. First thing of course, let's drop it right in the mud so we can get shit all over the roller. First thing we gotta do is we have to clip off this water inlet here. Now, maybe yours doesn't have a zip tie on it, mine does. We can take that off, we can pull this out. The next thing that we're going to do is we have to take this guide off and that guide off. Danny? And I dropped my... Danny? Oh, he's in between the logs. He's okay. First thing we have to do is take the set screw out. Actually, we're going to leave... I take that back. We're going to leave that set screw in. We're going to back off the 9/16 on the back side. Okay, that just undoes the guide here. That comes right out. Let's go ahead and just, while we're here, just to get this one out of our way, we'll just zap this one off too. Zap this one off too. Nothing like working on the sawmill. Okay, we're done with our ceramic guides. I am going to, just so you can see, put my nuts back on these just so that I don't lose them. Hopefully this brings an end to constantly having to adjust these things. But I will promise you that if I find out they are not better, then I will not use them. And we have to take out the set screw. Okay, Got our grub screw out, and we are going to put our new ones in. I'm going to go ahead and throw a guide in this right now. This should come right out. This is aluminum, so it really doesn't need any grease or anything like that. However, it is going on to a dissimilar metal. This one feels like aluminum. The roller is a dissimilar metal, so I would think that from that standpoint, we should go ahead and put a little grease in there to keep these metals from bonding to each other. And just a very little bit. We don't want these moving around, but at the same time, we don't want these metals to bond to each other, so we're going to put that in there. Wipe that on my jacket. Take out one of our new set screws here. Might as well use them since you got them. Put those where they're not going to blow away. I'm going to slide our new guide roller in here and push it pretty much all the way back. And put our new stainless steel set screw in. And we're just going to snug it down so that it doesn't fall out. And then we'll do the other side. So we just want to snug this thing down so it doesn't fall out. So we can adjust it this way. Now, if you'll notice, there's a big flaw in this system right now. These cannot be adjusted up and down, side to side, or angled like that, which to work perfectly, they need to be. So we're going to find out how much down pressure this thing puts on the band. If it doesn't put enough on the band, we're going to have to fix that. Now, I'm going to pause you one more second because I got to clean out the set screw on the other side. All right, we're back. Now, I know that you, hopefully, I can get you to see this. There you go. So take out the set screw on this side. Take that shaft out. And we're going to put our other guide roller in there with our new grub screw. And again, we're in a situation where these do not have any adjustment. Now, I think I have a little bit of a workaround for that, short of machining the inside of the thing out. So that's the other one. We're going to put the new one in with the new grub screw. These are not dissimilar metals. This one's going to go in there, all the way to the back. And we're going to put our new grub screw in. Set screw, Allen head set screw, whatever you want to call it. I think I've just always called anything that goes into a hole and tightens something from moving a grub screw. So we're going to just call it, I'm going to call it a grub screw. Put this in and we're just going to snug it down so that that can't fall out. Then we're going to put the band on. We're going to tension it, make sure the tracking's right, which is very important. Whenever you adjust any of your shit, guides, anything, even if you're using the ceramics, one thing that you want to do first is you want to loosen the guides so they're not influencing the band, and then you want to get your tracking perfect so that your band is tracking in the middle of the band wheels and is level this way. Now that we have this done, we can put a band on. I'm going to pause you guys 1 second while I get ready to do that, throw some gloves on, and we'll go with that. Right now we have roller guides. Okay, we're all bands on, tracked. I want you to hear the band, how smooth it's running. The clutch is lined up great. And now what we have to do is we have to bring these band wheels out. Now, just eyeballing it. Oh, the other thing you want to do is you want to get this adjustment to where you would consider it a typical log. So I'm going to say about right here. So I'm going to bring it out just a little bit. And not that I can adjust it, but I just want to, let's just get it there for the sake of doing this. And I can tell you that just eyeballing it, there is going to be down pressure on both guides. This one right here looks like it's going to have about a quarter. This one over here looks like it's going to have a teeny little bit less. What I'm going to do, I think, is loosen these. Let me get you in here so you can see this.